Welcome to The Explainer. So, every year, Amazon CEO gives us this rare peek behind the curtain. And it's so much more than just numbers, right? It's really a look at the strategic mind of an absolute giant. Today, we're going to dissect Andy Jassy's latest letter, and we're going to find that one core idea he claims is the secret engine driving all of Amazon's massive growth and innovation.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the absolutely stunning results that make this whole philosophy we're talking about. Then, we'll dive right into the heart of it, the so-called why culture. We'll see how they actually build it, where it's taking them, and, how it all ties back to the company's very first days. So, let's get into it.
Okay, so before we get into the why of it all, let's look at the what, the incredible results from 2024 that Jassy uses to frame his entire argument.
To really understand the power of Amazon's whole philosophy, you have to wrap your head around the scale of their success. In 2024, their revenue hit an unbelievable $638 billion. Now, that's not just growth. That's like adding an entire Fortune 100 company in just 12 months. It's wild.
But here's where the real story is. I mean, revenue is one thing, but look at the profit, an 86% explosion in operating income. What this tells us is that they didn't just sell more stuff, they fundamentally improved how the whole machine works. They got smarter, they got leaner, and way more profitable.
And just to put all that growth into perspective, think about this for a second. In 2024, Amazon Web Services, AWS, brought in $108 billion. That one single division made more money last year than the entire company did just 10 years ago. It's a pretty powerful testament to just asking the right question.
So how in the world do they do it? Well, Jassy argues it's not really about what they build, but it's about this one question they ask over and over again to unlock doors that seem totally bolted shut.
In the letter, he actually coins a term for it, YQ. It's this idea of having a super high quotient for asking why. Why does a customer experience have to be this way? Why can't we make it better? What are the constraints? And really, why do we have to accept them? It's basically a culture of deconstruction.
Jassy even gets a little personal here, sharing a story about how this was his habit as a kid. And he's suggesting that this innate, almost childlike curiosity isn't just a personal thing, but it's a foundational piece of Amazon's leadership and its very DNA.
And this all started right at the very beginning. The first big why questioned the fundamental limits of a bookstore. And that was the question that took Amazon from just a single category to the everything store that we all know today.
But then they turned that question on themselves. Why should Amazon be the only one selling on its own platform? Well, asking that led to one of their biggest innovations ever, the third-party marketplace, which, by the way, now accounts for most of their sales.
And this might be the ultimate example. They looked at their own massive internal problem, this need for flexible computing power, and they asked, why should every other company have to build this whole thing from scratch? By solving their own problem and then offering it to the world, they didn't just innovate, they pretty much created an entirely new industry with AWS.
Okay, so a why culture sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually build one inside a company with over 1 million people? Well, Jassy lays out a pretty specific playbook for how they bake this curiosity right into their daily operations.
It all starts with their famous leadership principles. Jassy points to 3 in particular. Our right a lot isn't about being arrogant, it's about relentlessly seeking the truth. Learn and be curious is, well, that's the fuel for asking why. And have backbone, disagree, and commit. That gives people the psychological safety they need to challenge ideas without, grinding everything to a halt.
So this is the really crucial part, this powerful two-sided idea. You are obligated to argue your point, to fight for it, even if it's uncomfortable. But, and this is a big but, once a decision is made, everyone, even the people who disagreed, has to commit 100% to making it work. This is how they avoid both groupthink and passive-aggressive resistance.
Get this, they even re-engineered the meeting itself. Forget about PowerPoint. At Amazon, important meetings start with everybody silently reading a super detailed 6-page memo for about 20 minutes. It forces the author to truly think through their argument, and it arms everyone else in the room to ask those really sharp, insightful why questions.
It's all part of this bigger effort to operate like the world's largest startup. Every new idea has to solve a real customer problem. They value builders who take ownership. They prioritize speed above almost everything else. They're proud of being lean and scrappy, and they're willing to take those big risks you need for big inventions.
So where is all this relentless questioning leading them next? Jassy is not shy about it at all. He lays out several next-generation whys that are shaping their biggest investments for the next decade.
First up, artificial intelligence. Amazon is convinced that generative AI is going to reinvent practically every customer experience we know. And this is not a small bet. This belief is what's justifying massive, rapid investment in everything from their own custom chips like Trainium to the 1,000+ internal GenAI applications they're already building.
Next up, they're taking on healthcare. They're asking, why is it so frustrating to get an appointment? Why is the pricing so confusing? Why is just getting medicine such a hassle? And that fundamental why is the engine behind their big pushes into Amazon Pharmacy and their primary care service, One Medical.
And their why questions actually extend beyond planet Earth. They see hundreds of millions of households without reliable internet, and they're asking, why can't we fix that? Their answer? It's called Project Kuber, a massive network of over 320 satellites aimed at closing the global digital divide from space.
And finally, Jassy brings it all home. He makes it crystal clear that this whole why culture isn't some newfangled management trend. No, he connects it directly to the most famous idea in Amazon's entire history.
So he frames the why culture, not as a replacement for anything, but as the modern engine for Jeff Bezos' original day one philosophy. If day one is the goal, to always stay hungry and inventive, then asking why is the fuel you have to use to get there.
This slide really captures that feeling of continuity. From Bezos' signature to Jassy's, it's like a visual passing of the torch. The leadership has changed, yeah, but the core idea, this relentless, curious, long-term focus, it's still exactly the same.
Because after 3 decades of growth, of disruption, and of constantly asking why, Amazon's answer, as Jassy puts it so plainly at the end of his letter, hasn't changed a bit. They truly believe they are just getting started.